Beauty Gang? I am back as promised with episode 2. That's 4. Episode 2 of the curly hair series here on my channel. So today we are talking all about transitioning into natural hair. So advice, tips, and then I'm going to throw in a couple hairstyles for you guys that you can do during the transition phase if you're going through that right now. So hopping right into the video, let's do this. Just a quick reminder from yesterday's video, the definition of transitioning is to return back to your natural hair's texture from a chemically straightened, heat damaged, or heat trained state. So with that being said, you have 3 different options when it comes to transitioning. You can either transition by immediately big chopping, you can transition by growing out your hair a little bit and then big chopping, or you can transition by gradually getting trims done to your hair until it's all out. That's the longest process. You need to make sure that you transition in a way that makes you, well, why am I pointing at me? You comfortable, okay? Not what others think, not what others say, not others' opinions, is what you want. If you want to go ahead and big chop it all off, do you. If you want to grow it out and then big chop, do you. If you want to gradually do it because that's what you're more comfortable with, do you. But make sure you're making this decision for you, because at the end of the day, the hair is on your head, it is your body, okay? So I felt like that needed to be said. A couple pieces of advice and tips that I have for you guys. I'm gonna just be throwing them out there, so go ahead and get your paper and pencil because you're gonna need to write this down. The first thing that is so important that I feel I need to touch on is that transitioning, going natural as a whole, but specifically transitioning speaking, is a mental process out this world. And what I mean that is you have to be very mentally strong to stick with it, because it is so many people that try to, you know, transition and whatnot, and it just becomes too difficult, too time consuming. They end up missing how easy their hair used to be to manage, just multiple different reasons, and they're just like, no, forget it, I'm gonna stick to what I know, and they just give up on their natural hair journey. So that's why I'm saying it is a mental process. I am not gonna lie to you guys about that. It is not the easiest thing to do, but I promise you at the end of the day, when you are 100% natural, it will be completely rewarding and satisfying to know that you stuck through it. On top of that, it's such a strain on your mental because you're dealing with 2 different hair textures. So you're dealing with your natural hair that's attempting to grow out, and then the damaged hair. And right in the middle of that, where your natural hair and your damaged hair meet, that is called the line of demarcation. And that line of demarcation ends up being the weakest, most vulnerable spot throughout your whole hair. So it's very important that you're gentle with that you treat it like a baby, blah, 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 because if you don't, it will break off. Like, it'll just be bad news for your hair. Now, another thing when it comes to transitioning, it is extremely time consuming, okay? Extremely time consuming. Like I said before, you are dealing with 2 different textures. One might be easier to detangle and the other might be like a pain in the butt, or vice versa. It's like you're dealing with 2 different people, 2 different personalities on opposite ends of the spectrum. So it's like you got an angel and a devil on one shoulder. It's that type of thing. So it becomes very time consuming to make sure that you're getting both textures to somehow get along, aka form a hairstyle that looks nice, looks presentable. Another thing when it comes to transitioning, you are not going to know the true curl pattern / texture of your hair until all the damaged hair is cut off. That's just how it is. You gotta imagine, I think I got this metaphor from Smartista Beauty, aka Brie Hall. She calls herself Brie Hall now, but she explained in one of her videos how transitioning is basically like you have a balloon with a ribbon, right? You tie a tiny little rock to the bottom of that ribbon, and you know ribbons are usually like curled, they usually coil. You tie a tiny little rock to the end of that ribbon, and it's going to make that ribbon stretch out. That's just how it is. The little rock is weighing down the ribbon, so to speak. So the ribbon will not coil back up until you cut that small rock off the bottom of the ribbon. Once you do that, it will coil back up. Your hair is exactly like that in a transitioning state. So until you cut off all that damage, your hair will not coil up the way it naturally would. So that's just a heads up. Another reason transitioning is such a mental process is because you have to minimize the amount of heat and manipulation you're used to putting on your hair. You really need to eliminate heat altogether, but I'm not gonna tell you what to do, I ain't your mama. But what I'm suggesting is that you leave it alone, like for a while. Because like I said, that line of demarcation is the weakest part of your hair. When you're constantly manipulating it and putting heat on it and stuff, not only are you drying it out, but you're making it even more prone to breakage when it already is at that point. It's on its deathbed. You're basically sealing the deal, putting the nails in the coffin by manipulating it even more and putting additional heat on it. Another key part of transitioning is to be patient, okay, you guys? The transition is not going to happen overnight. Your new growth, your new natural hair is not going to come about like in a snap of a finger. You can't say today, I want to go natural, and then tomorrow you're going to have new growth, okay? It is definitely a process, and you have to be patient with it. Another really key thing is to stop using sulfate products, okay? Like now, throw them all away. All the products that you use on your relaxed or permed or damaged hair, stop using them, throw them away if they have sulfate in them, because sulfate strips your hair drastically, and your hair at this point during transitioning needs nothing but moisture. So you got to get rid of all those products that are keeping the moisture out of your hair. And speaking of moisture, it is so important to keep your hair completely moisturized during this process. If you have any natural friends, family members, blah blah, sometimes you might see that they'll let their hair go sometimes. They'll kind of let it dry out for a couple of days. It's not a good thing. I'm guilty of it too, but we're just lazy sometimes. You, on the other hand, as a transitioning natural, cannot do that, baby girl. You cannot do that. You cannot neglect your hair during this time period. You have to give it all the TLC that you possibly can, and TLC in transitioning hair terms means moisturizing it. Another tip that I want to kind of give you guys, I can't tell you what to do again, but I'm strongly suggesting to not hold on to those damaged ends too long, because the longer you do, the more split the hair will become, and it will ride up the shaft. The more breakage you'll experience. It's actually hindering your hair more than helping it. Again, like I said, stick with what makes you comfortable, but I would highly suggest you not waiting too long to cut off that damaged hair, because it can honestly set back your journey more than help, if that makes sense. Another really big thing that I know a lot of transitioners tend to do is have multiple go-to hairstyles for when they get really frustrated and just getting to their breaking point with their transitioning hair, because those two textures, as I keep saying, are very difficult to manipulate and manage in the same way, and that can get exhausting sometimes. So a lot of naturals have go-to hairstyles like sleek low buns, box braids, Marley twists, wigs, stuff like that. Try to find protective styles and go-to hairstyles that you can always revert to whenever you're just like mentally about to break down, like give up. Don't give up. Keep pushing, girl. Keep pushing. You're almost there. You're almost there. Beauty gang, don't give up, okay? Another key tip and word of advice, deep condition frequently. Okay, at least once a week, but if you can do more than once a week, do that, because deep conditioning restores moisture back into your hair, and it helps to maintain the strength of your hair strand. So make deep conditioning your very best friend. If you can do it 2-3 times a week, girl, go ahead and do that. Go ahead and do that, okay? If you can't, at least do it once a week. Another key thing to do during transitioning is to find staple hair products. You don't really want this to be the experimental time for you. That you can kind of wait until you're 100% natural to find like really good products that your hair just loves. But for now, you need to find moisturizing conditioner, moisturizing deep conditioner, and then some styling cream that goes best with your transitioning hair. Try to find staple products and stick with those until your transitioning process is over. Oh my gosh. This is important. Don't do sew-ins or wigs with leave-out, ladies, especially if it's straight hair, because you're going to want it to look snatched. All us ladies like our hair to look snatched, right? But that leave-out, no, girl, because if you do that, then you're gonna want to flat iron it every once in a while, blah blah blah, and everything that I'm telling you about staying away from heat, that still counts for the little bit of leave out that you do leave out. And then before you know it, majority of your hair is gonna be natural, but that leave out that you had with the sew-ins and the wigs or whatever is gonna still be damaged, if not worse than what it was before. So try your best to stay away from sew-ins, wigs, blah blah blah, whatever that requires you to have leave out. Another big thing with transitioning is to maintain a healthy scalp, and I think I got this from my girl KC here on YouTube. I was watching her video on transitioning tips, and she mentioned about a healthy scalp, and I was like, wow, that is a really good and important tip, because a lot of people tend to get, you know, relaxers or perms or whatever, and although you're not supposed to, people put it on their scalp like to make sure all the hair is chemically straightened. But when they finally decide to go natural and stuff, the new growth that they're receiving isn't necessarily their natural hair still, because because putting those chemicals on your scalp pretty much damaged it. So the hair that grows out of it is also still damaged, if that makes sense. So she has suggested in her video, and I'm going to suggest to you guys to try out hot oil treatments and scalp massages, and even add moisturizing oils and growth oils and whatnot to your deep conditioning routine, because all those things can help with maintaining a more healthy scalp if you're suffering from any of those issues. And even if you're not, even if your scalp isn't damaged or whatever, still do that. It helps stimulate hair growth, helps keep your hair moisturized. Everything that I'm explaining, it still helps. And then the final thing that I have on this list, you guys, is to choose health over length every time. Even when you become fully natural, you still want to choose the health of your hair over the length of your hair. Length comes and goes, but the health of your hair is extremely important. Because what is long hair if it looks unhealthy, if it's broken, if it's split, if it's just like, oh my gosh, what has she got going on over there? I've always gotten compliments on my hair, even though it hasn't been the longest, just because it's so full, thick, and you can tell that it's healthy. Plus, healthy hair cooperates a lot better. It's better, easy to manage and maintain. It's just overall better. So please try to keep in mind to always choose health of your hair over length of your hair. But yeah, you guys, that's about all I have for you guys for this video. I really hope you found it helpful and you enjoyed. Again, tune in tomorrow. It will be about big chopping and the advice and tips for that process. This was transitioning. I really hope you guys are enjoying this curly hair series and the videos that I am pumping out for you guys, because I am on a mission, okay? If you have any other questions or anything that you didn't necessarily understand, please don't hesitate to leave it in the comment section below. Again, Beauty Gang, if you see the question, I haven't got to it yet, feel free to comment back if you know the answers to their questions. And yeah, that's about it for this video. Alright, you guys, until next time, bye.